Story 1. The Cracked Jar and the Path of Flowers. On a small hillside, there lived an old man who carried water every day. He had 2 clay jars hanging from the ends of a bamboo pole. One jar was whole and shiny. The other bore a long crack running from its mouth down its side. Day after day, the old man fetched water from the well, yet the cracked jar was never full. Water dripped along the path, leaving dark, wet traces on the dry soil. The jar grew sad, believing itself useless, never able to match the flawless jar beside it. One afternoon, as the sun painted the path in golden light, the cracked jar spoke softly to the old man. "I'm sorry. For years I've failed you, never able to carry water as I should." The old man smiled gently. He pointed at the path they had just walked. "You see, along your side of the road, flowers have bloomed. Thanks to the drops you lost, this barren soil came alive. I've gathered those flowers to place on the altar, and they've brought joy to many passers-by. Without your crack, this path would remain empty." The jar fell silent. It had never realized that what it thought was a flaw had quietly given life and beauty to the world. From that day on, it was no longer sad. It let the water flow, let the flowers grow, as if that were its own way of becoming full. Story 2. The river and the rock. High on the mountain slope lay a giant rock blocking the path. Hard and cold, nothing could move it. Beside it, a tiny stream trickled by, clear but fragile. Day after day, the water touched the rock, then slipped away. The rock laughed. "You are too small. I will remain forever, while you drift away, meaningless." The stream stayed silent. It never argued. It just kept flowing, season after season, wrapping around the stone. Over the years, no one noticed the faint lines slowly carved into the rock's surface, until one day, the mighty stone cracked apart. The stream had carved its own way, widening into a river. The rock was stunned. True strength did not lie in hardness, but in patience. Message: sometimes, gentleness and persistence can overcome the greatest obstacles. Story 3. The dusty mirror. In an old room hung a mirror, long forgotten. Its surface was dull with dust. No one used it anymore. A little boy entered, curious, but all he saw was a gray blur. Saddened, he said, "This mirror is broken." His grandfather smiled and handed him a cloth. "Try cleaning it." The boy slowly wiped away the dust. Bit by bit, the glass shone, and his own reflection appeared clear. He gasped in wonder. The old man said gently, "The mirror never lost its clarity. It was only hidden. Just like the human heart once, the dust of sorrow is wiped away. The light will shine again." Story 4. The Kite and the String. In a wide open field, a boy flew a bright blue kite. It soared higher and higher, lifted by the wind. Yet the kite began to resent the string that held it. "If only this string weren't here, I could fly endlessly. Higher than all," it thought. The kite struggled fiercely, and the string, unable to bear the strain, finally snapped. For a brief moment, the kite rejoiced in its freedom, but soon the wind, which had been its ally, turned against it. It wobbled helplessly and then tumbled down into the muddy field below. The boy ran over, gently picked it up, tied the string back, and whispered, "Without this string, you could never fly so high." The kite fell silent. It had been so focused on its desire to be free of the string that it had unrealized its dependence on it. The string, which it had hated for holding it back, was actually what had allowed it to reach such heights. We often feel the same way about the things that hold us back. We complain about our circumstances, our limitations, our fears, and we blame them for keeping us from being our best selves or achieving our dreams. But the truth is, these things are what allow us to grow and change. They provide the necessary friction for our progress. Our worries may feel like an anchor, but they also keep us from drifting aimlessly. Our insecurities may feel like chains, but they also give us the strength and courage to become more confident. Our setbacks may feel like walls, but they also give us the opportunity to learn and adapt. You see, the field where the boy flew his kite was wide and open, but it was also full of mud and danger. The kite couldn't have flown so high if the string hadn't been there to guide and protect it. Similarly, our worries, insecurities, and setbacks are there to help us navigate the complexities of life and to prevent us from crashing and burning. So next time you feel like your problems are holding you back, remember that they're actually there to help you. All you need to do is adjust your perspective and appreciate the support they provide. Because sometimes what feels like a limitation is actually what lifts us up. Story 5. The candle that transmits light in a small village many years ago, there was a temple. And in this temple, on the altar, there was a big, beautiful candle. This candle glowed softly and steadily, but often the candle felt very fragile and insignificant. One night, a strong draft blew through the window, and whoosh! It snuffed out all the other candles in the room, plunging the temple into darkness. The little candle trembled, afraid that it would die too. But just then, the old monk came to the temple. He saw the one candle flame, and so he took it and used it to light up all the other candles one by one. And slowly, the darkness in the room began to fade away. It was replaced by a warm, beautiful, golden light. The little candle was astonished. It looked at the flame that had grown out of its side, and it had not diminished its own flame. In fact, it had multiplied its light 100-fold. From that night on, whenever the wind would blow and the other candles would go out, the little candle would no longer be afraid. It would be happy because it knew the darkness was only temporary. And when the monk came and relighted the other candles, its flame would multiply, and it would give light to the whole temple. Think about this, friends. The more grateful we are for our lives, the more we can share our light with others. When we keep our light for ourselves, it may seem like we are wasting it, but that's not true. Light is never meant to be kept, but to be shared. When we share our light, it multiplies, and that's how we touch the lives of others and make the world a better place. So let us all be like that little candle, always ready to share our light with others. Let us not be afraid of sharing our knowledge, our skills, our happiness, or even our struggles, because in sharing, our light will multiply, and we will light up the world. Story 6. The Bells in the Wind. On the eaves of an old house hung a bronze wind chime. It was beautiful, yet silent. It only sang when the wind passed through it, just so. One day a visitor stood beneath it, waiting. No sound came. He sighed and said, "Perhaps this chime has no voice." The homeowner smiled and said, "Close your eyes. Breathe deeply." So the visitor closed his eyes and breathed deeply. And just as he began to feel the rhythm of the wind, a gentle breeze stirred the branches of the nearby tree. The chime rang out, clear and delicate notes that drifted on the air in the silence. He opened his eyes, surprised by a deep calm that had settled within him. He looked up at the chime, puzzled. The sound had always been there. Why had he not heard it before? Then the homeowner, her eyes twinkling, said, "Only when the heart is quiet can we hear life's subtle music." The visitor pondered these words as he walked away, realizing that the chime had taught him a valuable lesson. It was not about the wind chime at all. It was about him. For how often do we miss the melody of life because our hearts are too full, too busy, too distracted? We rush through our days, chasing after countless things, trying to fill the void within us. But true peace comes not from what we chase, but from the stillness within. Life is full of such moments, little occurrences that teach us profound lessons if we're open to learning them. Sometimes it's a gentle reminder to slow down and appreciate the beauty around us. Sometimes it's a sign to take a moment for ourselves, to breathe and be present in the now. Are you listening to the music of life? When was the last time you took a moment to simply be, to sit in silence and listen to the world around you, to the birds singing, the trees rustling, the wind whispering through the leaves? These are the sounds of life's melody. And just like the visitor in the story, we often miss them because our hearts are too full, too loud, too distracted. So let us learn from the example of the wind chime. Let us find moments of stillness amidst the chaos of our lives. Let us close our eyes, breathe deeply, and listen to the music of life. For it is in the silence that we truly hear the melody of existence. Story 7. The Beggar and the Treasure in a Torn Bag. There was an old beggar who sat beneath a tree every day. He would hold out his torn sack to passers-by, hoping they'd throw in some scraps of food. He'd never had enough to eat, so he grew thinner and weaker with each passing day. But he didn't dare lift his head up. He was too afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid of seeing the world, of seeing the sun, of seeing people. One day, though, a traveler stopped by. He looked at the beggar, and then at the patched-up sack. A smile slowly spread across his face. "Do you know," he asked the beggar, "this bag has been mended countless times, but it may hold more than you imagine." The beggar looked inside the sack, confused. In a hidden corner, he found a faded gold coin. It must have been forgotten in the lining when it was last mended. The beggar's hands trembled as he held up the coin. Tears welled up in his eyes. All his life he had begged, believing himself to be poor and worthless. Yet all the time there had been treasure tucked away beside him, a treasure he hadn't even noticed. The traveler placed a hand on the beggar's shoulder. "Sometimes," he said, "the greatest treasure is what we already have, right here with us." From that day on, the beggar was a changed man. Instead of waiting for others to give him food, he went out into the world to find it for himself. And though he still looked down a lot, he no longer saw himself as poor or weak. He knew he had something no one else did, a treasure that no amount of money could buy, the treasure of self-worth. Story 8. The Butterfly and the Cocoon. A boy found a small cocoon hanging from a branch. Every day he would come and watch the butterfly struggle to get out. He felt so sorry for the butterfly that one day he took a pair of scissors and snipped a small cut to help the butterfly get out of the cocoon. The butterfly slipped out, but its wings were wrinkled and weak. It could not fly. It could only crawl around until it withered away and died. The father saw this and rested his hand on the boy's shoulder. "Do you know it is the struggle inside the cocoon that strengthens the wings? By helping too soon, you took away its chance to fly." The boy was silent. From then on, he understood some struggles are not meant to break us, but to prepare us for flight. Friends, we live in a world that wants to give us everything on a platter. We see people getting famous and successful overnight, and we think that success should be easy. But true success is not easy. It requires hard work, dedication, and most importantly, patience. You may have seen a caterpillar inching along a leaf, taking its time, enjoying the sun, not bothered by the ants that are rushing around it. But when the caterpillar is about to transform into a butterfly, it becomes a different story. Suddenly, the caterpillar is in a hurry. It starts to spin a cocoon around itself, and it does this by collecting silk from its body. And as it spins the cocoon, the caterpillar starts to change. Its body breaks down and reforms into the body of a butterfly. And when it is ready to come out, it pushes against the cocoon until it tears open. And when the butterfly finally emerges, it is beautiful. Its wings are strong and wide, and it can fly high above the trees. Why does a caterpillar spin a cocoon, you may ask? Or why do we have to go through tough times in our lives? Well, it is because it is in the struggle that we become stronger. When things are easy, we don't appreciate them. But when we face challenges, we learn to be grateful for the little things in life. And when we overcome those challenges, we become stronger and wiser. So the next time you see a butterfly flying past you, remember, it had to struggle to get out of the cocoon in order to fly. Similarly, we have to struggle to get what we want in life. Nothing worthwhile comes easy. Your struggles are your preparation for your future. Don't complain about your struggles. Instead, use them to prepare yourself for the beautiful life that awaits you. So spread your wings and fly high. The sky is the limit. Story 9. Seeds and Storms. Once upon a time, a tiny seed was blown by the wind into a barren piece of soil. The seed was scared, the sky was gray and stormy. The wind tore at it, rain poured down trying to wash it away. Many times the seed longed to give up and just blow away. But with each storm, it pushed its roots a little deeper into the soil. With each rain, it reached a little higher towards the light. Seasons came and seasons went. The once frail seed grew into a strong sapling, then a mighty tree, shading the whole land around it. One day, a small bird perched on one of its branches and sang out. Without the storms, how could this shade exist? The tree swayed gently in the breeze, a big smile within its heart. You see, the tree knew something the bird didn't. It knew that hardship had been the soil of its strength. You see, friends, all around us we can see the evidence of this truth. The farmer who works hard, his crops grow strong and tall. The bodybuilder who lifts heavy weights, his muscles grow bigger and stronger. The student who studies hard, their knowledge grows. The singer who practices scales, their voice becomes stronger and more beautiful. Why is this, you ask? Because hardship is the soil from which strength grows. When things are easy, we don't grow. When there is no challenge, no difficulty, no pain, we remain small. But when we face our fears, when we work hard, when we go through difficult times, that is when we become strong. So the next time you face a challenge, a setback, or a failure, remember, you are being made stronger by it. You are being prepared for a greater purpose. Hold your head high, my friend, and face your problems with courage, for they are the soil of your strength. Story 10. The Potter and the Imperfect Pot in a Small Pottery Workshop. A skilled craftsman shaped the clay with his bare hands. He made many perfect, shiny pots that stood in rows on the shelves, but only one pot was crooked and uneven. All the other pots made fun of it. They said, "Look at that silly pot. It's so clumsy. It can't even stand up straight." The pot tried its best to ignore them, but it was very sad. The potter saw how sad the pot was becoming day by day. So one day he took it out of the shelf, held it in his hands, and smiled. He didn't throw the pot away. Instead, he placed it at the entrance of his workshop. Every day, people passing by would stop and admire the beautiful flowers that filled the pot, even though it was crooked and uneven. One day, the potter's student asked, "Master, why do you keep that pot? It's clearly flawed and doesn't serve any purpose." The potter smiled and said, "It's right here in front of you. Can't you see what purpose it holds?" The student looked at the pot and then at the flowers blooming inside of it. He still didn't understand. So the potter said, "Look closely, my boy. Do you see that little crack on its side?" The student nodded. "Well, that's where the flower starts to grow. If that pot were perfect, no flowers would grow. That's why it's important to have some flaws in your life." The pot heard these words and felt a warmth spread through its clay body. It was no longer sad or useless. It was now a vessel where flowers bloomed, bringing smiles to the faces of countless passersby. The moral of the story is, sometimes, flaws are the very place where beauty takes root. Story 11. Fields and Fire. There was a village nestled between rolling hills and a lush green field. For generations, the villagers had lived in harmony with nature, their lives as timeless and unchanging as the seasons. But one day, a wildfire swept through the land, leaving behind a trail of destruction. The field that had been the heart of the village, a place for children to play and for lovers to meet, was now a charred wasteland. The once vibrant grass was turned to ash, and the land lay bare and lifeless. The villagers were devastated. They stood amidst the ruins of their beloved field and wept. "Everything is gone," they cried, their voices echoing the emptiness in their hearts. But an old man who had seen many seasons come and go stood silently gazing at the destruction. He saw not only the loss, but also the potential for renewal. When the rains came, the first drops hitting the parched earth, he saw new shoots sprouting from the ashes. The field began to turn green, not with the dull, lifeless color of decay, but with the vibrant, hopeful hue of new beginnings. Day by day, the field grew greener, the soil enriched by the recent flames. The villagers, noticing this transformation, emerged from their homes, their faces etched with surprise. They had expected only more of the same, more loss and more despair. Instead, they saw life rising from the ashes, stronger and more beautiful than before. The old man, a small smile playing on his lips, whispered, "Sometimes loss clears the way for rebirth." The villagers, their spirits lifted by his words, realized that while they had lost much, they had also gained something profound, a deeper appreciation for the cycles of life, the inevitability of change, and the resilience of the human spirit.